Welcome to Got Invention Radio. I'm your host, Brian Freed, and tonight we have a successful inventor. Let's find out how she did it. Marcy McKenna. She invented several products, which she's going to explain to us. But before we get started, I'd like to just thank our sponsors. Of course, Inventor's Digest magazine. You can go on the Got Invention homepage, which I think you should be at right now. You can take a look at all the banners on the bottom. Those are our sponsors, Inventor's Digest. You click on the link. You can subscribe to the magazine for 33% off the cover price. Mojo 3D printers, unbelievable desktop printers. United Inventors Association, UIAUSA.org. QuickPatents.com. Carter DeLuca, Farrell and Schmidt, China to West. Thank you for your support, all our sponsors. Okay, Marcy, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Brian. Happy to be here.
So, Marcy, tell us a little bit about yourself. You're a very interesting lady, so tell us tell us a little bit about your background and how you got started as being an inventor.
Okay. I would say that I've known probably since I was a kid that inventing was the thing that I wanted to do. I was born into a family of inventors, so my great-grandfather had hundreds of patents to his name when he passed away. My great-uncle had many, many patents. My mom's an inventor. It's just one of those things that's sort of in the genes. So I had been inventing for years, and I kept a binder of my inventions that I figured as a mom of 3 young children, I would never have time to do anything with, so I would eventually pass that binder on to my kids and hope that maybe someday they would have the time and the wherewithal to take those inventions to market. And sort of a twist of fate, one night I was online actually doing a Google patent search, and I came across one link led to another, and I came across Kelly Ripa's face and the HSN logo, and there was a search for female inventors across the country for a TV show called Homemade Millionaire. And it turned out that the casting calls had all been closed, and it was the whole submission process was ending that night at midnight, and it was probably 11 o'clock. So I quickly realized that the opportunity that I had probably been waiting for my whole life was about to pass me up. And I made a decision to track down Kelly Ripa's production company that next morning, and I did, and I begged for 24 hours to put together a video and send off what was my favorite product at the time, invention that I had, and the one that I thought would do amazingly well on HSN if I could just win the competition. And I sent it off, and I ended up getting a call 6 months later, and I ended up winning the whole thing.
Okay.
So,
all right. Well, we're going to find out all about it for sure. I know that the listeners out there will be really excited to hear that story. Marcy, what did you do before all this? What did you do for a living?
Several different things, actually. I was in sales in the technology sector for many years. And when I met my husband, he said, "This is not what you love. What do you love?" And so I loved interior design at the time. So I went to school to do that and started doing that, but always through every job, every career that I had, inventing was always in there in my personal time. I'm just a problem solution person. I'm always kind of go about my day at a slow pace so that I can see what are these little annoyances that I'm encountering on a day-to-day basis and how can I solve them and what product can I come up with to solve that.
I'm telling you, Marcy, I do the same thing. I think it's after the first product or when you start to really be aware of your environment and your surroundings and watch people do things and see things, all different. You just start to it's like a bug, and it's unbelievable. And, I do a lot of traveling and commuting and things like that, and I'm always watching and paying attention to things and always looking for a better way to do things. Sometimes I drive my family a little crazy from doing this, but hey, now my daughter's doing it.
I was just going to say the same thing. I could never just, everybody else gets annoyed by something and, complains about it, and I get excited when there's something that's annoying them because that means there's some solution to that, and where there's a solution, there's an invention, and where there's an invention, there's a product.
Right, absolutely.
So, I get it.
Good stuff. So, Marcy, when you came up with your first idea, now I know that it's probably a lot easier, and I understand it turns into a process and a flow, but when you first started with your first idea, what did you do?
My first idea, I can remember it well, as an adult, I should say. I actually just started sketching and, drawing it, what would it look like, and then I made a homemade prototype just at home and just with sort of what I had around the house to see, could this work if I were able to bring it to market? And I found that it could. And from there, I actually started researching the market and even attended a trade show in that category to see what other products are available.
We're so far beyond. Let's talk about when you came up with the idea. I really, because there's inventors that just have that idea in their mind, and Marcy, they want to hear from you what you did. Did you right away run to a patent office or a patent attorney? Did you run to a manufacturer to make a prototype? That's like step 5 or 6. Talk to me about what you did when you first came up with the idea.
Okay, well, going back to my very first invention, that actually is sort of the way that it did happen. But now when I come up with an idea, what I do is I immediately go to my computer and I sit down and I type in Google Patent or Patent Storm and I start doing a patent search because I want to know, I always, want to know, is it already out there? Has somebody else come up with the product?
Perfect.
And then from there, I do Google search to no end. I mean, I'm obsessive. It sounds, Brian, like you're the same way when it comes to inventing. And I will just search every term possible on the Internet to find out, is there a product out there like it that maybe I haven't heard about?
Marcy, you know what inventors do? They call up or they talk and they say, Brian, I have the best idea in the world. Guess what? I went to Walmart, I went to Target, and it wasn't there. I'm ready to go. I'm ready to start.
Oh, I hear that all the time.
Right.
So true.
Right? So it's very important. And besides going to Google Patents or, of course, the United States Patent and Trademark Office has a very robust website, uspto.gov. Google Patents, you just put in Google Patents in Google, and it comes right up. And basically, like Marcy's saying, you put in all these descriptive terms of what you're coming up with. I always give an example, like a pen with a light on top you just invented, right? So you you say a pen with an LED, attached, or just come up with different terms. And don't be afraid, because you know what? This is the start of potentially a new business. And if you don't want to do the research in the beginning, you might have to do it when it's a little bit too late and you already invested plenty more time, money, breathing about it, thinking about it, right, Marcy? You get caught into the emotional side of it, but you have to face the facts to begin with and make sure you do your due diligence and do your research for sure.
Absolutely. And, if you do find something during that search, it's not the end of the world, because maybe there is something out there that you didn't find in Walmart or Target. So maybe somebody has a product similar to it, but they're not obviously doing a good job marketing it if you haven't heard about it. And maybe there's a way that your product can be differentiated from that existing product. So I don't think just because you find something on the Internet, it means that, your path is done. But I think knowledge is key here. You want to know what's out there. You want all of those obstacles to come up, like you said, Brian, now rather than later. You don't want to be in a meeting with a DRTV company or a home shopping network and have them say, "Oh, this already exists." You want to know that now and head it off at the path. And believe me, that has happened to me before.
Sure. Okay, so Marcy, you spend some time, and we even tell inventors, listen, do that, and then also go on Google, Yahoo, Bing, go on different websites and put in those search terms and take an hour on each one. Spend some time and look, and then also go into retailers and see. And if it's also a product that's already existing and you're kind of modifying it a little bit, there's going to be a point where you have to take what you found and, in my opinion at least, bring it to a patent agent or a patent attorney for them to take a look and see if your item or your product, your idea is somewhat patentable. Because it's one thing for us to say, hey, there's nothing that looks like it, but it could be something that falls under somebody else's utility if it's still protected. If it's over 20 years old and the utility expired, then it's public domain and anybody could do it. You don't need a patent.
Right. And to that point, I do think that is one area where you should spend money. A lot of people say, I can do the patent search myself, and maybe you can, But if you're actually going to move forward with the product in a big way, you need a patent attorney to do a really comprehensive search so that you know that you're not infringing on another patent. You may not have any plans to patent that product yourself, and, really very few products in the marketplace are even patented. So that may not be your plan, but you do need to know if you're infringing on somebody else's, and that's really important. So I always advise people to spend that money to do that comprehensive patent search before taking the next step.
Okay, so Marcy, we focused on the patent search, very important. I'm glad we share the same thought process. There's a lot of people that might skip the patent search and just go right to an attorney or make a prototype. There's a lot of different avenues that you could go, but I think that a patent search to make sure that it's your intellectual property and kind of think about the roadmap of where you're going to go, which we'll discuss as we're going through our talk tonight about manufacturing, licensing, going into different opportunities like the contest that you've been involved with. So tell us, Marcy, after the patent search, what would you do next?
I would, if I believed in my product after that search, the next thing that I would do is file a provisional patent. I can't tell you how many people I talk to that get so, let me back up for a second. At some point after I come up with the idea, I've learned through mistakes of my own that I have to give myself a 72-hour waiting period before I take any steps, because I get so excited about my ideas. I think they are the end-all, be-all. It's going to solve all the world's problems, going to make a ton of money. And then 2 days later, I look at it and think, this is not a good idea. What was I thinking? So, everybody's different in that sense, but I really forced myself to sit on my ideas for a few days before I take even that patent search step to make sure that I really do believe in this idea before I'm going to go to the time and the expense of moving forward with it.
Yep, and I'm sure you also make it a point where you say, let me take my emotional feelings out of the idea and just focus on what it is that I have, and are there other people out there that would be interested in my product? Where would I see, where could I see my product? Where could I envision it? Is it at a specialty store? Is it at a mass retail? Is it simply a catalog item? Is it a direct response item? So these are things that I'm sure as you start to become experienced, and that's why we're on the air sharing this with the inventors out there so they understand the different ways of thought process that could help them and bring them, keep moving them forward.
I love that point, the emotion, taking the emotion out of it, because it breaks my heart. I've seen so many inventors invent a product and spend a ton of money and a ton of time because it solves a problem for them, a problem that they're having. And that's very valid and wonderful, but to your point, Brian, how many people have that same problem, and is there truly a market for it? And evaluating that before moving forward it's a tough thing to do, because you do have emotion. You have your pride around what you're doing. So that's a tough thing to do, but it's a super necessary step.
Absolutely. So
and then
go ahead.
I was just going to say, from there, I started to talk about the next step is the provisional patent. I can't tell you how many people, including a very close friend of mine who just did this, how many people rush out to file a utility or a design patent once they find out they're not infringing on anyone else. I got to protect it. They spend $5,000 or $7,000, whatever the number is, to get that full-blown utility patent so they're protected moving forward. I think that is a big mistake for a lot of reasons. I think we're so lucky that there is the option of the provisional patent that costs all of $125 and can buy you a year, so that you can actually truly evaluate the potential of that product. Is it marketable? And not just is it marketable, but how are you going to roll it out in the marketplace? Because, and like you said, Brian, we'll talk about it in more detail later, but are you going to manufacture it yourself and sell it yourself? Or are you going to try to license it to, say, a DRTV company? And
Sure.
So that will help you determine whether or not, number one, you want to spend the money on a patent. But a lot of times during that year, things change, not only with the product, but also you might decide you don't want to move forward with it and you've just spent all that money. So that $125 for 12 months I just think it's just definitely the way to go, and it's just such a valuable alternative that we have.
It makes sense. Marcy, I just want to explain to the inventors out there, because some of them are at well, we have inventors that listen that are at different stages of the invention process.